share with a friend or two. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. And many more. And many more. And many more. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Daring Dialogues. I am your host today, Shantae Charles. I do want to thank you for your time and for your attention. It is, let's see, uh, let's see, 10, it's 1 week until Thanksgiving. Next week, we will not be on because we'll be taking a station break for the holidays. Um, I hope that people will get an opportunity and a chance to connect and reconnect with their family on next week. I know many of us are winding down with business, with projects, with school, all of those good things. And so next week we will not be on. We'll be taking a station break and then we'll come back in December to continue. All right. Next week on Thanksgiving Day is my birthday. So if you would like to celebrate my birthday with me, you can join in celebration by donating to my mutual aid fund that we'll be distributing in December. I am asking people if you want to donate to give in increments of 27. So $2.70, $27, 270, 2,700, whatever your budget, whatever fits your budget. So if you want to donate to that, the way you can donate, you can either donate by my Zelle, which is reachshante@gmail.com. You can donate that way, or you can donate by my Cash App, $Life Nation. All right. I'm excited because more people need help, and the more people we can help, the better. This month, we got a chance to help 23 people. Yeah, 23 people from all different walks of life and all different kinds of needs. And so we're looking to do even greater than that in December. So again, if you want to do that, if you want to participate as a celebration to my birthday, that is how you can help me celebrate. All right. We're reading one book today, and then we're going to chop it up for a little bit. It is going to be a short show today, and we're reading from Live Nourished, Make Peace with Food, Banish Body Shame, and Reclaim Joy. And I will tell you, this book has been very eye-opening for me. It's written by Shana Spence. She is a certified dietary nutritionist, um, and she has her master's, I believe, in food science. And yeah, she's a registered dietitian nutritionist who calls herself an all foods fit dietitian. She is the creator of the hugely popular Instagram account at the Nutrition Tea, and she gives the tea on all things nutrition. She works in public health with a focus on community health and runs a private practice where she has helped hundreds of clients improve their lives. She lives in Brooklyn, New York. And good morning to you. And she has been giving us the scoop in the inside on health and wellness. We're reading her chapter, The Elitism of Health and Wellness, and we are now going to get on a subject that I think is important as we go into the holiday season, especially when we're going to be, many of us are going to be diving into and enjoying and tasting some of our cultural foods that many times have been demonized. And so this section is called The Healthifying of Cultural Foods. The Healthifying of Cultural Foods. We'll read this section and then we will chop it up a little bit. This health elitism, this wellness elitism, extends to the way we often try to healthify or clean up different foods, many of which are cultural. Call it what you like, but this is just straight up racism. Did you know that you can find racism permeating just about every part of life in America? It's sad to say, but it's true. In countless weight loss programs, health retreats, and clean eating cleanses, cultural staples are frequently removed and replaced with more westernized and Eurocentric substitutes. For example, the substitution of cauliflower for rice, one of the many demon carbohydrates, is common. Love this cultural food, but not like this message that runs rampant. Whether we realize it or not, we tend to associate certain cultural foods with bad choices or cheat meals. There are constant memes on social media correlating Mexican and Chinese dishes with cheat meals all the time. For instance, if you had to choose between tacos and being skinny, are you choosing soft or hard tacos? Is one I come across a lot on Pinterest. Tacos are a cultural food, and demoting them to simply a cheat meal, in other words, a scheduled meal consisting of what's considered indulgent or unhealthy food, is extremely stigmatizing. Imagine a food that is prominent in your culture and has meaning within your family being referred to as something unhealthy that people should feel guilty about eating. Even if we ignore the actual nutrients of these foods, yes, they're already healthy, it is wrong and harmful to ignore the familial traditions and heritage tied to these cuisines. The need to healthify cultural cuisines sends the message that these cultures are inherently unhealthy and need to be fixed. For example, there are many cookbooks out on shelves that offer healthier versions of various cultural cuisines written by people not of those cultures. You will see recipes that substitute ingredients such as different grains and oils in the name of health. This is all fine if someone wants to swap out ingredients on an individual level for their personal needs. But to call it a healthier recipe in general is not only culturally insensitive and stigmatizing, it is downright xenophobic. No matter what the intention, attempting to improve a culture's food, especially when you are not of that culture, is deeply problematic. And on the other side of this, so many cultural foods or traditions have been co opted by mainstream wellness. In other words, cultural foods and traditions are often looked down upon and questioned unless they can be rebranded and westernized for profit. Now, I've said this about what she's about to talk about now. I've been said this for years, and people are just like, oh, that's not what's going on. Yes, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. I'm talking about yoga, Ayurveda, dry brushing, bone broth, turmeric, avocados, chia seeds, and trust me, I could go on and on. The most disastrous result is that people of various ethnicities come to view themselves as unhealthy because of society's dismissal of cultural staples of their diets. In academia, we learn that certain populations are more likely to have certain illnesses and diseases, and the cause is often ascribed to diet. Stress factors like poverty and racism are almost never discussed. Can you believe it? For example, at 14.5%, American Indians, indigenous persons, and Alaska Natives have the highest rates of diagnosed diabetes among any race or ethnicity. In conjunction with this statistic, this population also has a higher amount of inequity in healthcare and health status compared to other populations. I know from personal experience. Health outcomes are adversely affected by inadequate access to comprehensive health services. American Indians and Alaska Natives born today have a life expectancy that is 4.4 years less than all other races in the United States. Even with the strong correlation between inequity in health, some medical professionals shake their heads, believing that these populations inherently don't care about their health and that diet is the reason why these populations have higher BMIs. My nutrition courses consisted of classes that often discussed public health and noticed that marginalized populations were dealing with little access to health care, systemic racism, low income, weight stigmatization, misogyny, and dozens of other factors that contributed to these illnesses. However, it is always emphasized that people are in control of their own destiny and that with a few good tweaks, their lives would automatically improve. And they have the power to do this themselves. Hardly anyone mentions that many of these populations have a deep, deep distrust of the medical field as a whole because of its racist origins, and therefore many do not choose to seek regular medical attention. And the other word she needs to add in here is many of these populations have a valid, deep distrust of the medical field as a whole. Valid. Because even if you're like someone like me who regularly does your medical follow ups, does your yearly exams, I still get racial microaggressions when I am doing those things. I still get told I don't know my body the way I know my body. I can still tell you that I'm alive today because I listen to my body, and sometimes I ignore what's being said to me because I know that they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. And very few times have I had a professional come back and say, you know what, you were right, even when I was right. Very few have come back to apologize to say, you were right, I was wrong. So I want y'all to think about that. And I have been right. That's why I'm still alive. I'm not still alive because of their medical advice. I'm alive because I listened to my body and I advocated for myself and I demanded certain things and I refused certain things because I knew what my body was saying and doing and telling me because it's called medical practice, which means they're not always right. Thinking back to my own schooling, she writes, we weren't given enough instruction on cultural competency or respecting the values, traditions, and beliefs of other cultures and to be aware of our own biases. There was always the assumption that someone doesn't care about their health or because someone is of a certain culture, they only eat in one way. This isn't true, and society as a whole needs to be more aware of these thoughts. Imagine being told that your culture is unhealthy and that a dish that includes tortilla chips and guacamole is labeled a cheat meal, while at the same time being able to walk into any artisanal, overpriced cafe and order avocado toast. The irony. And we're going to stop there for today. All right. Pastor Ben, are you on with us today? I don't see you in the comment section yet. Bum, 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 bum. But, and while I'm waiting for him to show up, um, but I will say this. During the pandemic, okay, went to my doctor. I said, listen, I have read the Harvard medical study. Based on the Harvard medical study, I am not going to be taking that vaccine. I understand other people could take it, et cetera, but I know my family's health history, and based on what I have read and what they have recommended for people with certain family health histories, I will not be taking this. I got called foolish. I got told I don't know what I'm talking about. And I said, well, you can say what you want to say. I have read the actual Harvard medical study and report that first came out that was recommending that certain people not take this vaccine. Under certain conditions, you should not take it. So me and my specialist went back and forth, and I said, well, you could take it. I'll come in, I'll wear a mask, obviously, but I'm not taking this vaccine. Based on what I read and based on what my family history is, I will not be taking that. The people in my family who took it, the men in my family who took it, are dead. Because our family history pointed towards some things that said they really shouldn't take it. One was in his early 50s, the other one was 15 years old. At both ends of the spectrums that proved to me we should not take it. Went back to that same doctor. His friend in the medical field took it. 2 weeks later, he was dead. You know what that doctor said? I apologize for calling you foolish. He was a young doctor that my doctor had been training to take his place. And he died 2 weeks after he took the vaccine. So, again, even though something is being pushed at you, you still have to know your body. You still have to be responsible for reading up on things. Um, and you also have to understand, too, that these vaccines are still being made under emergency authorization use, which means if anything goes wrong with the vaccine and you take it, the government is not responsible for the outcome, including your death. Your family has no legal recourse to pursue the government for what you took because it's still in experimental state and it has not moved out of emergency authorization use yet. So, that being said, I will continue to do what works for my family. I will continue to exercise, eat right, take my vitamins, work on keeping my immune system strengthened, wearing masks in crowded places. That's what I'm doing. Now, did I get it? I did, but I was ill for 24 hours and then I was over it. So, you have to do what works for you. You have to pay attention to your body. You have to read and research and not just go by what somebody in the general population is saying and telling you. Um, Pastor, go ahead and try to add yourself. Try to enter in. I did see you, but I was still talking. um, so yeah, that's what I will say. And thank you, Shantae. Yeah, because I have people in my family that are no longer here because they took something that genetically they shouldn't have they shouldn't have taken. You said it keeps spooling. Try to go out. There you go. Okay, I see it. Hopefully, it will add you in without a problem. All right, and you all on the other end, let me know if my sound is still up or if it's gone down. All right. But Pastor Ben, I know you haven't been able to come on a couple of times because of the technological stuff here. So I know you might want to have some other things that you want to comment on and speak on that we talked about earlier this week. So I want to give you time to do that. And then today we were talking about the elitism factor in nutrition and how um, our cultural foods have sort of been demonized as if something is wrong with them. But in fact, and we've said this before, in fact, they just want a way to alter the food and change it up and make it theirs and then monetize it and then represent it back to you. That is often what
Mm-hmm.
happens. That happens with people's spiritual practice. I see a lot of white
Mm-hmm.
people calling themselves shamans, gurus,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole bunch of other things that they took from other people's cultural practices. I see a lot of people offering spiritual retreats that come out of other people's cultural practices. And a lot of them are not crediting the cultural practices in which they got them from.
Yeah.
And so I'm not interested in a retreat done by somebody who has whitewashed other people's cultural practices. I'm just not.
Well, like holistic medicine.
Yes, if I see a conference, I'm just being honest with you guys. If I see a conference on holistic medicine and there's not one black person, not one Spanish person, not one West Indian person, not one Southeast Asian person on the panel, why would I go to that?
Right.
Because what are we even doing?
And here's the
And
thing.
don't tell me you can't find professionals in those practices that are also doing the work. So why is your conference
Because there
excluding
are.
all of the persons of color, but you're talking about their indigenous and spiritual practices and holistic healing practices? I'm not coming. That's the same thing
Mm-hmm.
with the field of psychology. If I see a psychology conference and everybody on the panel is white and male, I'm not coming. Why would I go? Why would I go? See, people, we too many times I feel like we let people play in our face,
Yeah.
and some of this stuff you just have to look at and tell yourself, I will not be going. There are no black people. There are no women. There are no indigenous people involved. I will not be going to your conference. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna clock it one more. If I see a church conference and all the people on the flyer is white and male and one white woman, I'm not going. If I see
That's
a
a no
church
no.
conference, if I see a church conference and everybody on the flyer is black and male, I'm not coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, what are we doing? It's 2025. You mean to tell me you can't find no women? No women can speak in a leadership capacity at your conference. All these women leaders and preachers out here, and you can't put not one of them on your panel, and you gonna call it a conference. I ain't coming. I'm just being straight up.
Well, look here now. You just went somewhere because we all know. I'm just saying this now. I'm not there. We all know that women ain't supposed to lead, according to man, not according to actual scripture, but according to man's false interpretations of scripture. Because
All
if
I'm
they
going to
wouldn't see it, and this is the one that I always point to, that they say don't point to her, Deborah, judge, prophet, leader of all the armies of Israel who were
but
men.
even beyond Deborah, if you
Yeah,
actually
beyond
read
that.
even if you actually read the Bible all the way through, you would see the many instances where women are taking the lead. So you
Hmm.
can't tell me you're a student of the Bible and you're skipping past all of these examples of when women are taking the lead, even when they're not in a leadership capacity. You're telling me you skip past Abigail? You skip past Abigail and how she
Hmm.
stopped David
Yep.
from jacking up his kingdom before he even got started?
Hey, listen, David was gonna kill everybody and everything.
You I mean, I'm just saying, don't tell me you're a student of the Bible and you're skipping past all these examples of women who know how to move, women who know how to maneuver, women who know how to deal with hard-headed egotistical men. All of that is shown
Hmm.
throughout scripture if you read it.
Shantae, I'm gonna tell you one guy's response concerning Abigail. Oh, she was out of order. She was out of order. But she saved these men's lives.
Out of
And
whose order?
didn't really scripturally and morally
Out of whose
did nothing wrong
out of
to do
whose
it.
order? If she was out of order, she wouldn't be the one who was dead.
Exactly. He's the one that was dead.
Because the reality
Nabal.
is he was a fool. And that's what happened when fools don't get out the way.
And that's what his name meant.
When
Fool.
fools don't get out the way, they are divinely removed
Yep.
so that things can flow.
Oh, and what happened to Abigail? Didn't David marry her?
He did.
Yes, he did.
He did. But yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying there's other instances that you see in scripture. JL, right?
Hmm.
JL woos the enemy. I won't necessarily say woo, but she made the enemy comfortable. She made him comfortable to take him out.
Hmm. Hmm.
She didn't need a sword. She didn't need a bow and arrow. She didn't need a shield. All she had was what? A cup of milk and a peg.
Took it to the head.
So again, don't tell me you've read the Bible and you skipping past these women who are in clear control of the situation and maneuver so that victory can happen in the situation.
Hmm.
So when I hear people say, "Oh, the Bible is just misogynistic," that tells me you haven't read the whole thing. I'm not listening to you either. Now have there been some things obviously put into the text? Have there been some alterations put into the text over the years to culturally justify certain things? Yes. We're not saying that that's not true. But what we're also saying is there are plenty of examples through the text that show you that God is for women, God uses women, God is not threatened or intimidated by women's leadership capabilities. That is also shown through the text. So if you're going to
Hmm.
talk about one thing, make sure you cover the other part. You're going to
Hmm.
talk about the ways in which the culture of the time was shaped by patriarchy and misogynistic practices. I want you to also come back around full circle and also talk about, and even though that was the case, God showed you he was for women, he was for the widow, he was for the orphan, he was
Hmm.
for the mentally abused and intimately assaulted. He was for them. And if anything, what the text does is it shows you humankind and human nature, both our worst parts of ourselves and our best parts of ourselves. People keep saying, "Well, I don't understand why the Bible is one of the most read books of all time," because it shows you the spectrum of the really really terrible parts of humanity and the really
Hmm.
really good parts of humanity. It don't skip
Hmm.
nobody. It doesn't skip nobody. It doesn't come out making humans look so good and rosy that we never make mistakes. That's what I get from the text.
Right.
I can't tell somebody else what to get from it, but what I get from it is it shows the gamut of human possibility. It shows us at our very best
Hmm.
and it shows us at our very worst. It shows us when we hear from the spirit and the creator and we follow his lead, and it shows us what happens when we ignore the creator and choose to follow our own lead in many cases. So
Hmm.
that's what I get out of the text. Now, is there
And it
anything
also,
else that we talked about this week that you wanted to um, share about? I know yesterday
and I
we talked
remember,
about the spirit of justice, and we talked about the first African American child. And then Wednesday, we talked about boundaries, having boundaries with your extended family for the holidays and what that might look like. Anything else you want to
hmm
share on those topics?
Boundaries. Um, Listen, we all need them, and we need to enforce them.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it comes to family.
Mm-hmm.
But we're seeing a perfect example, though, acting out right in front of us about a person crossing boundaries, and people are letting them freely cross boundaries, and it's gotten us into a mess.
Which one?
We won't call any names, but it's gotten us into a real mess. So much so that it's beginning to separate their own party.
Yep.
So and that has to do with boundaries.
Yep.
The boundaries were there. You allowed this person to ignore the boundaries,
Yep.
supported them ignoring the boundaries,
Yep.
and now it's destroying your own party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I said this morning, I said, I feel like our country is in an abusive relationship. And at some point we have to get off the abuse train,
hmm
because it's now the people who felt like they were kind of insulated from being affected by it, they're no longer insulated from being affected by it.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
It's
Right.
affecting everyone. And like I said, people elected this person because they thought that they were going to be on a revenge tour, but now the revenge tour is burning down the entire house. See, it was okay when the neighbor's house was on fire and you could just look across and smirk and grin and laugh and cheese and say, nah,
hmm
nah, 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 your house is on fire. But then when the wind started blowing and picking up, that same flame caught your house on fire. And so now what was funny in January is no longer funny in November. It's no longer funny.
Shantae, we've been telling them for years. Ain't we been telling them for years?
We have.
What they do to my people is just the beginning because it's going to come knocking on your door. We're just the test. You let them get away with doing it to us, they're going to start upgrading until they get to you.
Mm-hmm.
This is the perfect example.
Yep.
But I can guarantee you, many of them still don't see it.
You're right. You're right. You're right. And here's the weird part. The weird part is by the time they do see it, it's going to destroy a lot of them
hmm
by the time they do see it. Um, some of them don't realize, I think the main thing is, some of them don't realize is they've used your wedge issues like um, abortion, wedge issues like how people feel about the trans community. They've used these smaller issues, wedge issues like immigration and calling people illegal. They've used these wedge issues because they know that's
hmm
what draws you in to give them the power. But
hmm
once you give them the power, you have to understand they don't like any of us. They only like the 0.1%. And as much as
hmm
you dislike other people, you still are not a part of the 0.1%. So they use your hatred, they use your animus to gain your power, right? for you to hand over your power to them, and now they're using that power to destroy not only who you hate, but they're also using it to extract from you altogether.
You know
And
what?
so
See,
now, and now the people realize, oh, wait a minute. Oh, they don't like me either.
hmm
But we tried to tell y'all that they don't like you either.
hmm
Because
hmm
for them, it's not about color. For them, it's about money.
hmm
But they
and
use
having
that
power.
animus about color and gender and place of origin, xenophobia, right? They use all of your phobias to get you to give them power to destroy you.
hmm White farmers.
Why you think you destroying everybody else? No, they don't like any of us. If you look at some of their
You ain't got the cash.
contracts, if you look at some of their contracts, the contracts say they want to reduce world population by 97%. Do you know what you have to do to reduce the entire world's population by 97%? Do you know how many people you have to unalive by reducing the world's population by 97% because you say there's too many humans on earth? That's the kind of mess those people are on.
hmm
You think that they're giving you AI for innovation. No. They're giving you AI because they're trying to reduce the need for you. They're trying to reduce the world's population by 97%. How do you think they're going to do that? What do you think mass starvation is? What do you think trying to withhold food from 42 million people is about? What do you actually think
hmm
that is about? That's not about owning the libs, people. That's not about owning the libs. That's about a greater plan to reduce 97% of the world's population.
and trying
And the
to make
fact that
healthcare unaffordable again.
and the fact that people were applauding this, not understanding
hmm
you too must go, is mind blowing. Mind blowing.
Listen, when they named Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, I called it out right then because we know with that party, anything they want to get rid of, what do? They attach blackness to it because they know that their people are on that. So critical race theory, DEI, and then they say abortion, but abortion and DEI, we know that they benefited more from that more than anybody else. Or as far as abortion, yeah, they're the biggest percentage that got that. So that was about trying to save some white people and control and government assistance. Yeah, government assistance. You can't afford to eat. You can't afford housing. We're going to get rid of you to
I don't know if anybody has heard of the Georgia Guidestones. We've talked about them years ago. But the Georgia Guidestones was a granite monument that was placed in Elberton, Georgia, commissioned in 1979 by an individual using the pseudonym R.C. Christian, and it was unveiled in 1980. The monument featured 10 guidelines in 8 modern languages on its 4 slabs, and a message in four ancient languages intended to provide guidance for humanity. Now, these stones remained in place until July 6, 2022, when an explosion damaged the monument and the remaining pieces had to be dismantled for safety reasons. But I want to, it was 19 feet tall and it weighed 237,000 pounds. The guidelines were inscribed in English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Russian, and Chinese. The ancient languages on there were in cuneiform, classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Egyptian hieroglyphics. It was aligned to function as a astronomical calendar that allowed sunlight to illuminate the day's date on a certain day of the year. It was located in a field 7 miles north of Elberton, Georgia. I want to go to the what was written on the guide stones. Okay. They were inscribed with what they call 10 guiding principles in 8 languages, which included which included maintaining the human population under 500 million people, guiding reproduction wisely, uniting humanity with a new language, like the zeros and ones they trying to unite us under, balancing personal rights with social duties. The top of the capstone stated, let these be guide stones to an age of reason. What would you have to do to reduce human population from nearing 8 billion people to under 500 million? I want y'all to think about that.
Don't alive a whole bunch of people.
And it just so happened to blow up in 2022 into itty bitty pieces, and the guide stones are no longer standing. Yeah, poison the food supply, poison the water supply. I don't know, maybe extract energy and water from communities, poison the air. So you're talking about a lot of genocidal tactics it would take to bring world population down from nearing 8 billion people to under 500 million. That's like world extinction level. And think about it. They let that guide stone stay up for visitation from 1980 until it mysteriously blew up in 2022. It was on display. Why would the government, why would the state of Georgia even allow this random anonymous monument to stand that long for people to read it? Just think about that. More than one state will run out of water very soon. I was actually not only the water issue, but I was also actually reading up about the state of natural gas and liquid gas and how the supply is limited, and they're trying to scramble to figure that out as well. So somebody is saying ultimately there's too many of us humans here, and we got to figure out a way to limit the number of humans. And what I feel like our government did in the second round of this person is they're essentially signaling to other nations that you guys got to pick up the pace. You got to pick up the pace on annihilation. That's pretty much what they're signaling. Because look at how much damage has been done since January. And we
Hmm.
got an estimated 3 more years of this. all the stuff they're trying to dismantle, every single day is some new mess. They own some new mess every single day, right? People are like, can I even catch my breath from the last traumatizing thing you just did? And that's why I said it. I feel like we are in an abusive relationship with our nation.
Mhm.
People feel like they can't breathe right now. So I want us to be mindful of that. Like I said, we will not be on next week, but I want us to be mindful of the atmosphere that we are walking around in. You may be okay personally, but there are a lot of people who are not okay. So try to be kind, try to be courteous. I'm dealing with stuff on social media every single day. Somebody is saying something stupid to me every single day. And I just have to look at my phone and be like, really? This is what we're doing today? This I do that. I say this is what we're doing today.
Mhm.
And I just go to the name and I block them because nobody has time for low energy, low vibrational foolishness right now. My concern right now is making sure that people get help and making sure people get what they need, which is why I've asked people to donate because we're doing mutual aid. We started this month. We helped 23 people. We gave out what we could. We collected funds and then we redistributed it. And we're doing the same thing for December. People need help. They don't need added drama to their life. They don't need an added burden. They need help. And so if you aren't going to help people, don't harm them. I think that's somebody's, spiritual principle. Do no harm. The first principle, do no harm. Ask yourself today, and I try to end my day by asking myself the same thing. Have I left this world better today? Was there anybody that I harmed? Can I go to sleep tonight knowing I haven't harmed anybody today? I've at least tried to help one person. Yeah. Leslie says that supply is limited purposefully. If they choose renewable energy, how will they keep you from it? Exactly. The indivisible chapter here is giving us ways to show up and to resist this. Very good. I think you're spot on. I can't believe I found a voice of sanity and someone quoting scripture using the right context to get the point. Thank you. Awesome. 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 Pastor Ben, can you screenshot that for me? Can you screenshot that and send it to me? Um, it's amazing the time that we are in. We are definitely in, I would say we're in the best times for humanity to come together to realize that we have more power together than we do apart. I think more people are seeing that. We have more power together than we do apart. But we're also in some of the worst times for humanity because of the people trying to lead us. And they're not trying to lead us into the future, they're trying to lead us into extinction. Their goal is nihilism. Their goal is a non existence of most humans. Their goal is something that we've talked about here called the cremation of care. The cremation of care is a ritual that evil people take themselves through to divorce themselves from human compassion, because you have to be divorced from human compassion in order to unalive billions of people. You can't have empathy or a soul to do that. So when I hear leaders saying empathy is sin and that empathy is toxic, when you hear leaders saying that, that is your cue that those people are against humanity. Run. If you hear a
Mhm.
pastor talking about toxic empathy, run. Because what you're dealing with is you're dealing with someone who has decided to cremate their care for humanity. You got to be on some evil, diabolical stuff in order to get rid of close to 8 billion people. You have to have said, I'm going to take my soul and I'm going to pluck it out of myself so that I can do this evil. That's what the cremation of care is about. That's what toxic empathy is about. That's what calling empathy a sin is about. Because if I have empathy, then I can't harm you. See, if I have empathy, then I have to care about you. If I have empathy, then I would be actually sickened by the thought of 42 million people going without food if I have empathy.
Hmm.
So understand what is happening in this moment, and the way that you resist evil is by doing good. Evil cannot stand people that do good.
Hmm.
Evil can't stand goodness. Evil can't stand love. It's almost like that scene in Sinners where the vampire is trying to get the boy and he's in the water and that light hits him. That's how
Hmm.
goodness is. That's how love is. When that light hits, that thing goes up in flames. It cannot handle it. So I want to encourage you to keep doing good, keep loving people, keep showing and demonstrating empathy because that is how we fight back. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues. I've been your host today, Shantae Charles. I want to thank you for your time and for your attention. Pastor Ben, final thought.
Now you went somewhere, and I'm going to go somewhere also with it. Uh, Empathy. The basis of everything that Christ taught was love.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that he taught, the basis of it was love. What's attached to love? Empathy,
Mm-hmm.
compassion,
Mm-hmm.
care. Everything good is attached to love. Everything evil detaches itself from love.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line. So when people are talking like that and doing the uh, uh, getting rid of their empathy and stuff like that, saying that it's evil, you're operating in the antichrist spirit
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
because you're trying to erase what he taught. You're coming against what he taught. You're calling what he taught evil.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be clear about that. Let's not make any mistake about it. I don't play with it. That's exactly who you are and exactly what you're doing.
All right.
So you're either evil or you're good. Empathy is good because it's attached to love, which is what Christ taught. Bottom line. So number one, if you call yourself a believer or a Christian, study the scriptures yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Go into Revelation. Don't be afraid. It won't harm you. It will bless you. You will have a clearer understanding of what's actually going on.
Utilize a Hebrew Greek study Bible, which actually breaks
Yeah, that
down
too.
every single
Hmm.
word of the text. Um, that helps you to uncover what the actual meaning of some of these verses actually mean. Because some of it gets lost in translation with the English. So go back to the original translations of the words. All right. In all things, work on doing no harm to your fellow human. Thank you again for your time and attention. Take care, and most importantly, be what?
Light.
Light. Be well, everyone. We hope to see you back in December. We will still be on Sunday, so you want to catch us again Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be on.